Okay, welcome back. Now we're going to look at a couple of options for stop loss and take profit. The reality is this that various people use various concepts or principles to set their stop loss and take profit. There is really no, you can say this is the best one or the worst one. The stop loss and take profits are really strategy dependent most times. But I'm going to share a couple of them of how I actually decide what my stop loss and take profit is. But in reality, for me, it is strategy dependent. Basically, that's what stop loss and take profit is: strategy dependent. And so, what are those options for um, for setting stop loss? Um, First one is setting just an arbitrary number. So something like I will set my stop loss 20 pips for a buy trade. I'll set my stop loss 20 pips below the entry. Irrespective of the currency pair, irrespective of the time frame, my stop loss will always be at 20 pips. And so it's just an arbitrary number, a constant number, 20 pips. Works and also doesn't work. It's just what it is. You can decide it is 50 pips. You can decide it is 10 pips. But the smaller the stop loss from your entry, it means that there is little space for price to play. And as you can see, price moves up and down. So the best approach to the arbitrary stop loss is when you choose a number, just make sure that within the time frame it is at, that it gives price enough room to move, and it doesn't take you out of the trade unnecessarily. If not, you just be losing money unnecessarily, as it were. So that's one way of setting it. I do that a few times, but that's not my main way of setting stop loss. The second way I choose to set stop loss is to be strategy dependent. So, depending on the type of strategy I'm using, it will determine the type of stop loss I'll use. And so that means it is price dependent. It is dependent on what price is doing in the market. And so, for instance, I can say that if you look at what's happening here, I have the structure level here, right? And I also have the structure level down here, somewhere around here. Yeah, so that's a support and resistance. So that's a support level and that's a resistance level. And so I can decide that if price gets to this level up here, or this is where price is currently. So if price continues to go up and gets to this level, I want to sell. And if price comes down to this level, I want to buy. That might be the strategy. Now, I'm not saying this is a strategy, but yes, there are strategies that are based on principles that are like what I've just said now, that you just have a range and where price actually moves up and down, oscillates up and down. And so when price gets to the bottom level, you buy. And you can see clearly here, this is a clear how many pips from here. So if price gets to this range is actually about 76 pips. So even if you took that trade, this particular one here, if you took it here, that gives you kind of 50 pips. 50 pips is sufficient to change your life every day. If you're doing 50 pips a day, you're constantly transformed. And then price also came back down here. And then even if you took that trade here, it came down 43 pips and then came back up, but then went down and completely closed, hit that level at the bottom, and now it's taking the move up again. So up to you if you are taking this strategy. So if I was taking this strategy, one of the ways I can take a price and strategy dependent um, stop loss is I can choose that if I'm going to take a buy trade, then I want to place my stop loss somewhere below that range. So I might want to place my stop loss. Let's change the color. So I might decide I want to place my stop loss somewhere around here, because I know that you can see that this level here for several times has actually bounced price off. Bounce price there, bounce price there. Yeah, but at the time I was taking this trade, I saw that price bounced it here and immediately bounced off here. I know that price, this area here is a strong support. So I want to place my stop loss behind the support, so that even if at any point price comes down, you can see when price even came down here, it never broke it to come and take me out, at least right now, and just went back up. So the best place to put your stop loss is around here. You don't want to place your stop loss where it is most likely to hit, because it then defeats the aim of a stop loss. The stop loss only should be used to protect you when price has broken the rules of your entry, not just anywhere. If price breaks the rules of your entry, then I want to be out. That means all the rules have been invalidated. So I don't want to be in that trade. That's the only time you should actually use a stop loss. Any other time, do not do that. So in this case here, if I'm using this strategy becomes invalidated if this level here of support gets broken or that resistance gets broken. So as long as I have for the buy stop loss below there, and then for the sell, as long as I have my stop loss around there, then I'm fine. Price just bounces off, and doesn't hit my stop loss. I hope that makes sense. So that's how I can set my stop loss for that. So now, what is a take profit? Typically, if you're trading a system where you're looking for a, a high reward setup, then you should be looking for the size of your stop loss or the size of your take profit should be anything from 1.5, 2, 3, 4 times your stop loss. And what that simply means is, I'm just trying to get a drawing tool. Okay, so in principle, what I will want is, so if I use here now, so if I want a buy trade, and I'm going to take a buy trade here. So ideally, what you want to have is a situation where if this is your entry, the green line is your entry, the blue line is your take profit. So in a buy trade where you want to take profit above there, now your stop loss is below here. So this is ideally what you want to have, a situation where your entry price to your stop loss, the size of that is probably half of this other one. So this will be 1 and something like that 2. So if we move this and 2, so that becomes a 2 reward to 1 risk. That's what that is about. So if I want to set my stop loss for my entry, and my take profit from my entry, I want to look for a 2 to 1 setup. So what does that really mean? In this example here that we've just talked about, if I decide to sell at this level here, so here, so I decide that my sell price is going to be here. So that's my sell price. Make that green. So that's my sell price there. And I said earlier that my stop loss is going to be the red line. And I'm selling. If I want to do 2 to 1, I need to determine the size of this. And one of the easiest way to do that is just take your crosshair, come to where your entry price is. It shows you, look at the right hand side of the chart by where the price axis is. Take the crosshair, get to where your entry price is. It's telling me in this case it is 1.0878. Click and hold and then drag. Once I start to drag, you can see that that pointer now has a set of numbers. The first number is just counting the bars, the candles. Yeah, so it counts from middle to left, and it increases as it goes left, which shows in history. Um, Goes left, you can see like this. The middle number is the number of pips that price is moving from the start. So it can be up this way, it can be down this way. It just counts the number of pips. And then the third set of number is the price. So when I am I've moved up this way, it is 11.2 pips. Now I've got to mention this. If you are using a five decimal place broker for non-JPY pairs, or three decimal place broker for a JPY pair, that middle number there is actually point. So it's not 109 pips, that is 10.9 pips. So you must divide that number there by 10. So if I am down here, it is 1.8. If I'm here, it is 6.7, not 67. So if I check that now, it is 16.1 pips. Oh no, that's where I want it to be here, the red one. So from my entry, that is 21.4 pips. So if I want to do 1 to 2, then I need to be looking for a target, a take profit that is 42 pips. So I can then go down this way and look for a level that is 42 pips. And when you check it now, 42 pips approximately level is 1.08355, which means that my take profit will be around 1.08355. So around here. So if I change that to a different color so that we don't confuse ourselves. Let's make it a different color. So you can see now clearly that my stop loss, if I choose my stop loss will be from here to here. You can see that. So that's my stop loss level size, and then my take profit will be 1 and then 2, exactly. So 1 to 2. That's if you're doing a 1 to 2 trade. Sometimes high probability trades, you don't need to do 1 to 2. You just take your profit when you hit the profit. But that's the principle of stop loss and take profit. We've just done a sell. We will take another example of a buy. Now, if you are trading something like our ARX Gen breakout system, which you can see today, we only have one opportunity show up, where all the three rules of our strategy were met, and that was GBP CHF, and we can just see what price did, just completely slaughtered. GBP completely just went negative against the Swiss franc CHF. So in this case, in this strategy, I like to place my stop loss most times at this level. So for a sell trade, I want to place my stop loss there, and my entry is for a sell entry is at the red. So in this case here, my stop loss size would have been just about 21 pips, about 20 pips really. Yeah, 20 pips. And then if I did 1 to 2, which means I'm looking for 40 pips, isn't it? So the 40 pips actually only happened there. You can see all this profit was available, 140 pips. So you risk 20 pips for 140, which is 7 reward to 1. 7 to 1 is just massive, just massive. If you wanted to trade that system on its own just like that, then several days, if you wanted to do the same thing, you can see here as well. Just take that. You can see as well, if price breaks down there, I want to take a sell trade, and the size of that stop loss there was 53 pips. and it's 130, ended up being 133. That one's 63 and 73 up there, never broke there, so that one broke as well, 58, and this is GBP USD. So even if we went for another example, so another example again, if we used this system, we know where our stop loss is. The other system that we traded today, where it is clear really where our stop loss is. So in this case as well, that was our entry, and the indicator actually gives you what the stop loss should be on this strategy. So that's the entry, that's the take profit one, and that's the take profit two. And so price got us in on that candle there, and so immediately got us in. That was our entry. So if you look at it, the entry was at that level, the stop loss was about 60, very high, 64 pips, but then the take profit in this case was about 50. So it's not even a one-to-one, but it's high probability. It's But if you held onto that trade and followed it down, then obviously it was a profitable high reward trade, 64 against 142. So this is about 2-to-1, slightly more than 2-to-1, but yeah, you could easily have got 2-to-1 on this trade. GBP AUD never triggered. Yeah, GBP CAD as well triggered. And again, something similar in this case, the entry price to the stop loss was 46 pips. To the TP2 was 49. So 1-to-1, if you followed it to the downside, was 157. So yeah, that's another way to set the take profit. Then a third way to as well set take profit, stop loss and take profit, will be like in our wave strategy. Oh no, not that one. In the wave strategy, where we have, say for instance, now this should have been close to an entry level there. So let's just assume we took a trade at that level there. That means our entry will be around here. Our stop loss will be, or let's use one that has already completed. So let's say we got into this trade, which that would have been close to an entry there. Okay, let's say that one an entry there. Then our stop loss, this will be a sell trade. Our stop loss would have been just above the 89 EMA. So this is the size of the stop loss. Now you can see that the take profit completely the size of the stop loss in this example was 60 pips. The price actually went over 150 pips. So again, 1 to 2.5, which is awesome. Let's remove this for a second and just scroll across the chart. So you can also see very many opportunities here. So the first opportunity was here. So the entry price would have been there in that case. The stop loss would have been there. And so you would have taken a buy, and the size of that stop loss, 39 pips. And right here, we're already on 2-to-1, almost 3-to-1 at this level. But maybe you exited around here, which is 90, so still almost 3-to-1, so 2.5-to-1. You get into another trade here, and the entry would have been there. Stop loss would have been around here, and the size of that stop loss, 61 pips. Even by here, it was already 1-to-1. The price came down, did not get to our starting point even, and touched again. At this point, it was already 1.5-to-1. And if you still held on to that trade, you're looking at almost 3-to-1. So indeed, there are different ways I set stop loss, and that is it here. In this case, again, is dependent on the strategy, where I place it just below the EMA. 89. So sometimes it's 12 pips, sometimes it's 50 pips, sometimes it's 72 pips. So it's not an arbitrary number. It's just following what price is actually doing. And that's my preferred way of setting targets and take profit. I hope that makes sense. But if you do have any questions, please do come back to me. As always, I will be happy to respond to you. I'll try and put this into two videos. The first one being the concept, and then the second one just being the chart explaining stop loss and take profit. Okay, until next time, you take care, stay disciplined, and let's just go make some money. All right, see you soon. Cheers.